You see something nobody else can. A shimmer of light, a strange halo around a person's head, geometric patterns that drift and float through your vision. You go to a doctor and they call it a migraine aura, a glitch in your brain's complex wiring, a beautiful but ultimately meaningless cascade of neurological misfirings. But what if it's not a glitch? What if your brain isn't just seeing things? What if it's seeing things that are actually there? For centuries, mystics have claimed to see a luminous energy field surrounding living things, an aura. And for just as long, science has firmly dismissed this as pure fantasy. But the experiences are real. The lights are real to the person who sees them. And the brain science behind these visions is far more bizarre and fascinating than you might imagine. We're going to explore the documented neurological truth behind auras. And then, we're going to ask the question science usually avoids. Do some of us actually emit a visible energy field? Before we step into the unknown, we have to ground ourselves in what we know for sure. In medicine, the word aura means something very specific. It's not an emission, it's a perception. A neurological aura is a temporary disturbance in the brain that can mess with your senses, your balance, and even your ability to speak. It's most famously linked to migraines. About a third of people who get migraines also experience an aura. For most, it's visual. They might see flashing lights, shimmering zigzag lines that look like the top of a fortress wall, or blind spots that blot out parts of their vision. Others feel a tingling numbness that slowly creeps up a limb or across their face. Some may even struggle to find the right words, a temporary but terrifying state called transient aphasia. So, what's really going on inside your head when this happens? The leading theory has a suitably dramatic name: cortical spreading depression, or CSD. Imagine dropping a stone into a perfectly still lake. A ripple expands slowly across the surface. CSD is like that, but inside your brain. It's a slow-moving wave of intense nerve cell activity, followed by a period of quiet that crawls across the surface of your cortex at about 3 to 6 millimeters per minute. As this wave moves through your visual cortex, it creates the exact kind of geometric light shows people report. When it hits the sensory cortex, it generates the tingling. It is a literal, physical, electrical wave rewriting your perception of reality for a few minutes before it fades away. Auras can also be part of an epileptic seizure. In that case, the aura is the seizure, a small focal event in a part of the brain that governs a particular sense, warning that a bigger event might be on its way. It's all brain activity. It all happens inside the skull. Case closed, right? Well, not quite. The brain is capable of far, far stranger things. The standard migraine aura is weird enough, but then you have the rare auras. These are the experiences that blur the line between a neurological symptom and a perception-altering event. Some people experience mosaic vision, where their sight fractures into tiny shimmering squares, like looking through a stained glass window. There's palinopsia, where you keep seeing an image after it's gone, a ghostly afterimage burned into your vision. And then there's one of the most famous and unsettling rare auras, Alice in Wonderland syndrome. This can cause micropsia, where objects look tiny and far away, or macropsia, where they seem gigantic and overwhelmingly close. Imagine looking at your own hand and seeing it shrink, or watching a doorway warp and bend like it's made of rubber. These aren't just flashes of light. These are fundamental distortions of reality, manufactured entirely by your brain. Even rarer are auras that start in the brainstem, the most ancient part of our brain. These can trigger intense vertigo, ringing in the ears, and difficulty speaking or moving as the CSD wave moves through the core systems that regulate our consciousness. Science is even discovering that some of the most severe auras, like in a condition called familial hemiplegic migraine, are linked to specific genetic mutations that control the tiny ion channels in our neurons. For some, the blueprint for these incredible experiences is written directly into their DNA. The sheer strangeness of these events proves one thing: our brains have the machinery to generate experiences that are, for all intents and purposes, indistinguishable from magic. So what does this all mean? We have a mechanism, cortical spreading depression, that explains the lights and the warped perceptions. We have genetic evidence linking these experiences to our biology. The scientific conclusion seems obvious. The aura is a symptom, a subjective experience locked inside the brain of the person having it. It's not an energy field being emitted. But what if that's not the entire story? Science tells us the brain is a receiver, constantly interpreting signals to build our reality. But is it only a receiver? Or could it, under certain circumstances, also be a transmitter? This leads us to the question that lives in that fascinating gray area between neuroscience and profound mystery, the question that science is usually afraid to even ask. Do some people emit a visible energy field that others, perhaps with their own uniquely wired brains, are able to see? The idea that we're surrounded by some kind of life force is ancient, woven through countless spiritual traditions. But in the early 20th century, a few people tried to drag this concept into the lab. A London physician, Dr. Walter Kilner, was convinced he could medically prove what he called the human atmosphere. In a 1911 book, he detailed his method for seeing it. It involved looking through special glass screens coated with a toxic coal tar dye called dicyanin. Kilner claimed that by staring through these screens, a person could train their eyes to perceive the ultraviolet spectrum, making the aura visible. He believed these fields changed with a person's mood and health and could even be used for diagnosis. But his peers in the scientific community couldn't replicate his results, and his methods were dismissed. Decades later, a new technology reignited the public's fascination: Kirlian photography. In 1939, a Russian inventor named Semyon Kirlian discovered that if you place an object on a photographic plate and zap it with a high-voltage electrical field, you get a stunning image. The object appears to be surrounded by a brilliant, colorful burst of light. A leaf, a coin, a human fingertip. Everything seemed to have its own unique glowing aura. For those in spiritual and paranormal communities, this was it. This was the proof they'd been waiting for. They claimed the brightness and color of the aura could reveal a person's emotional state, their health, and even their spiritual essence. But scientists pretty quickly found a different explanation. That beautiful glow in a Kirlian photograph isn't a mystical life force. It's a well-understood physical phenomenon called a corona discharge. The high voltage ionizes the gas molecules in the air right around the object, causing them to release energy as light. All the variations in the so-called aura are caused by simple things like the moisture on the object, the pressure it's under, and the humidity in the room. A sweaty, nervous fingertip produces a brighter corona than a cool, dry one, not because the person's soul is in turmoil, but because salt and water conduct electricity better. So, where does that leave us? We're facing two parallel truths. The first truth is one of neuroscience. The strange lights and shimmering halos some people see are real, verifiable neurological events. They're born from the incredible, complex, and sometimes chaotic electrical dance happening inside our brains. Your experience is valid. It is real. It's a testament to the profound power of the 3-pound universe inside your skull. The second truth is one of human experience. For centuries, we have felt and have wanted to believe that there's more to us than just flesh and bone, that we have an energy, a spirit that shines. Kirlian photography, though explained by physics, gave that feeling a beautiful, tangible image. The glow in a Kirlian photo may just be ionized gas, but the feeling it stirs in us is real. The visions of a migraine aura might just be a wave of depolarization, but the wonder they inspire is also real. Are these experiences a glitch in our neurology, or a glimpse into a reality we are only just beginning to understand? Maybe the distinction doesn't matter. Maybe the ultimate question isn't whether the aura is a physical emission or a neurological perception. Maybe the real question is, what does it mean that our brains have the capacity for such experiences in the first place?